What's up, guys? This is a game played between Socrates and myself. I'm playing as the English, and Socrates is playing as the French, and I'm just whispering because Emily is sleeping. And basically, each person controls a unique civilization from the medieval ages, and they all have different bonuses. So Socrates has the French, and they produce their villagers out of the town center faster. They have the strongest cavalry in the game. They get an age early. And I'm playing as the English. We have the best archers in the game. They have the longest range. And if my units are underneath a town center or tower or a fort castle, we have attack speed bonus. And those are the main civilization differences. The different units counter each other in this game. For example, spears, which I produce with my longbows, the spears counter the cavalry counter longbows and archers, so his cavalry counter my archers unless I have spears with them to deal with the horses. And then there's another unit called men-at-arms, and the men-at-arms counter spears and archers, the dudes with swords and shields, which Socrates and I don't really produce. And of course, archers counter spears, so you'll see Socrates building archers with his knights, his horse units to counter, so his archers can counter my spears, and his cavalry can counter my longbows. But the way I play against him, I mix my spears in with my archers so that he's unable to harass my longbowmen unless he catches them out of position without my spears, or unless he's able to get his archers to kill all my spears. So the game starts. As you can see, I'm in the pink, and you can only see your units. You can only see what your units can see up to the Fog of War, which is in black. As you can see, the closer you get to the undiscovered map, you reveal it, but then once you move back away from it, it becomes gray again and you lose sight of it, even though you revealed it previously. The only way to really keep vision of the entire map would be to place buildings or units there. As the game starts, you want to send your scout out to gather sheep, and now I'm going to go into caster mode so we can see the whole map, even though Socrates and I at this position couldn't. So Socrates has sent his scout out to gather as many sheep as he can. You won't see him until you get there because they're in the Fog of War. In order to get to the second age, or next tier, so that you can build better units and buildings, you have to gather 200 gold, and you have to gather 400 food. You want to constantly producing villagers the entire game, which costs 50 food each, because you want to have a bigger economy, you want to have more resources gathered so that you can build more buildings and more units. So right off the bat, you see Socrates is gathering gold to get to the next age up in food. I'm gathering gold and food to get to the next age up. Our scouts are looking for sheep. We're revealing the map because it's different generation every time. So at this point in the game, you're just gathering your food source. You can use berries, deer, sheep. Most people want to get as many sheep as they can under their base so that their villagers don't have to walk far to gather more food, and so that you don't have to spend wood to build a unique resource gathering camp next to the resource. So typically you will build, you'll get gold and food so you can get to the second age, and then you also want to start gathering wood so that you can build more buildings which cost wood, and that you can build units that cost wood. So for example, this game I built a bunch of spears and longbowmen because I know Socrates is going to build archers and cavalry, which require a lot of gold, so he'll be gathering a lot of gold. I'll be gathering a lot of food and wood. I'll go ahead and speed this up a little bit to ×2 because it's a 25-minute game. So I got my 400 food, my 200 gold, and I decide to start building my landmark, which puts you into the next age. For the English, one of their unique landmarks they can build to get to age 2 is called the Council Hall, which it's basically a double archery range, which produces longbowmen twice as fast as a normal archery range. So I want to get that so that I can pump out some archers, maybe park them up here to harass his villagers and kill them. Socrates is building the School of Cavalry, and that's one of the unique French landmarks, which produces cavalry 20% faster than a stable. So as you can see, we're both going up to age 2. To get to age 3, you need more food and more gold, a lot more than you did for age 2. I'm starting to produce a lot of my wood villagers so that I can crank out longbowmen because they cost food and wood. I'm constantly producing villagers so that my economy can grow. Now we'll see Socrates will start to build a bunch of gold gathering villagers because his cavalry cost 140 food and 100 gold, so they're very expensive, so he's going to need a lot of gold and food. On the other hand, my units only cost 40 food, 50 wood, they're a lot cheaper. My spears, 60 food, 20 wood, a lot cheaper than his. They're not as strong as the Royal Knight, but you can make a lot more of them because they're cheaper. So he's sending his Royal Knight across the map. He's probably going to see if he can get a villager pick. But I already took all my villagers off of gold because for the rest of the game, I'm just going to be producing food and wood. I don't really care about gold. My units don't cost gold. His units do cost gold. So he's going to need to stay on the gold mine the whole game. He's going to need food and wood. He's got to spread his villagers out, thinner. So I'm cranking out my units, and then I'm going to send them across the map to raid. I didn't initially see this guy. I wasn't looking. Once I saw him and I zoomed in on the map, I started cranking out my archers on him. My archers don't deal a whole bunch of damage to cavalry. They're more counters to his archers. But if you get a spear on this cavalry, they'll really fuck him up. They're a hard counter to cavalry. So I'm sending my units across the map. My goal is to take his villagers off of gold so he can't produce any more of these knights. So I send him over to the gold mine. I start shooting at his villagers to harass him. I'll speed that up. And up here you can see the unit count. I have 9, 10 military to his 3. I'm going to be constantly producing military so I can constantly keep them over here and push him off of his resources. The main goal is to prevent him from gathering resources so that he can't build any more units and buildings, so that you can overwhelm him with soldiers and eventually end the game. And you can have up to 200 soldiers each. Ideally, you want to have 100 villagers and 100 military so that you can constantly sustain production of units. I'm burning down his mining camp. I see that his scouts were gathering food. They're bringing in deer carcasses so that he doesn't have to go over here to where the deer are, where I'd easily be able to kill them, where he can't protect them. It's very smart from him. So as you can see, I'm just building up my military, building up my food and wood villagers so that I can gather more resources, getting a blacksmith so I can get the battering ram technology to destroy his buildings, massing up my military, keeping them out of his line of sight so he can't really see what I'm doing. I send him over behind here so I can start picking off his wood villagers, his food villagers, just more harassment. He has to keep his military in his base because if he doesn't, if he sends them out to raid, I'll just be able to clearly kill his villagers. You both ideally want to be raiding each other, but, when you have such a large force in somebody's base, you can't really afford to be raiding and defending. So I see now that he's building a bunch of villagers on his gold. I'm sending my units over to attack his gold mine, slow it down again. I'm constantly streaming units over here. I had longbowmen without spears, so he's able to catch them out pretty easily and just kill them. I decided I would sacrifice my military to just get a bunch of kills on his villagers to really stop his gold production because his units are more expensive. He needs a lot more villagers than me. I got a bunch of kills here. Obviously his cavalry ended up overwhelming my longbows. I didn't have any spears. Just ate them up, but I did. To me it was worth it because I killed like 10 of his villagers, and that's huge economic setback. As you can see up here, I now have 32 villagers. He has 20. My economy can grow a lot quicker. I can gather more resources. He completely wiped out my military, so I started building it back up over here. Fast forward again, gathering more wood, gathering more food. At some point I decided I want to get more gold so that I can get into the next age, so I can build like catapults and shit, which just do large AoE damage to his units. I figured that'd be a good way to break the stalemate. But as for now, I used up all my sheep. I had to transition onto my deer, which I started gathering. And again, this is sped up, is why it looks funny. He sends his military out here, and I don't think he realized, but obviously he had a lot larger number than I did. He could have wiped me out, but he probably didn't. He probably wasn't watching the camera and just pulled him out when he got the warning sign that he was under attack. He could have ended the game here, but I don't think he knew I didn't have that many military. He came up here to see if he could kill some of my villagers gathering food and gold. Didn't have anybody on gold, and I pulled all my food villagers back safely. So he came away empty-handed over here. I decided this would be a good trade to fight him, because I can put my units inside the town center, which will make it shoot a bunch of fucking arrows and just annihilate his guys. I sent my longbowmen to attack his archers. They outranged them by far. English have the best archers in the game, and I was just able to get a good free couple picks there. He pulled back. At this point, I have a ton of villagers on wood. I have a ton of villagers on berries. The fastest resource for food you can gather is sheep, and then deer, and then berries, and then eventually you can build farms. So obviously I wanted to go on to deer first, but he pushed me off of there with his soldiers, so I had to pull back to the berries, which eventually run out. Now I don't know why he didn't push his lead there. He could have, came around here, scattered out, attacked my wood line. I don't think he saw that. Came around the back of the map here, attacked my food. He didn't see that. So we're about halfway into the game. I'll speed it up. He starts growing his military more, constantly cranking out villagers so he can, keep his economy up. I sent some villagers to gold so that I can try to hit the next age. I sent another raiding party, but decided, I don't want to fight that. Since he destroyed my entire military the last game, I didn't want to, the last fight we had, I figured he had much larger numbers. At this point, it was kind of even. So at this point, it looks like he's sending his units around the back of the map to do what I was saying, to raid from the back. But he decides against it, pulls him back. I had put my villagers back on food. I wasn't paying attention. So he got a bunch of free kills on my gold and wood food line here. I should have positioned my military up here. I was just being retarded. At this point, I start walling up my map because I predict he's going to try to come around the back and flank me and kill a bunch of my villagers. I'll speed it up again, ×4 speed, gathering a bunch of gold so I can get to the next age. Because one of the English unique landmarks for age 3, you get a castle that just shoots a fuck ton of arrows and can fire a bunch of, and can produce a lot of military. Every one of the English's units for free. Not for free. From one building, which is good. You don't have to build a siege workshop, archery range, barracks. So you can see here he's building up his military to do it out. I predicted he wouldn't come around the back and flank and attack my wood line. I positioned all my soldiers up here to prevent him from attacking again, but wasn't paying attention to the back. Speed it up. Sends his guys over here. He finds the wall, starts burning it down. I panic. I pull all my villagers, so I lose all that gathering I had. They're no longer gathering wood right now. My economy's falling behind. Even if you can just push people off of your resources without killing them, you can just idle them and stop them from gathering. That's really good. As I'm attacking there, he's sending units up here, and I decided to send all my villagers to the woods back here to gather safely so that he couldn't prevent them from gathering over here. But I saw that he spotted me, and he has the fastest units in the game with these knights. So because I saw that he spotted me, eventually I pull all these guys back and put them back here safely because I figured he'd catch them all out and kill them. And of course he did. He sent some soldiers out, speed it up. But I sent my own soldiers out, fucked them up, better archers. Somehow he got some guys in the back of my base. Didn't really help him out. We had another fight here, pushed his guys back, he made me fall back. I was going to build my age 3 landmark here, but I decided against it. I said, you know what, I think I want to build that in the middle of the map to get map control, and then I can have a forward base to try and end. So I pulled all my military up here, build that forward base up here. I see his dudes are up here attacking me, so I put my spears on his knights, and I put my longbowmen on his archers. They counter each other. He pulls back. I get my villagers in place to build my landmark, speed that up. Couple good fights over here. I saw he was sending his cavalry to flank my villagers while they're building my landmark, or potentially go for my wood line. So I spent my spears after him. Good trade for me, because in this game the spears counter the horses. I kind of panicked here. I was like, damn, he's gonna just shove all his soldiers right into my wood line and kill him. But for whatever reason, he didn't attack him. He just rode straight on through. So you would have lost that trade and would have lost all these gold heavy units because my spears would counter him. I figured here maybe, he's going to try to burn this shit down and kill those guys. He ended up not doing that. I got my castle up, Started building battering rams out of it because I had upgraded ram tech. He sent his cavalry in again, and unfortunately at this point I only had my longbowmen here and my villagers, and he realizes I don't have any spears, so he sends his guys out. I use the longbowmen unique tech where they can deploy stakes to fight off cavalry. Got my spears cut up. He realizes he's not going to win that fight and pulls back. So my castle, you can see up here, is just doing work. This is why you want to put this in the middle of the map. It's got a huge ass range. It can just fucking annihilate everything that, except for battering rams. So if you just send units at it without siege, they're going to get fucked up. He's completely pulling back, pulling all his knights back. He realizes he's not going to get anything here with this setup I have. Got my farms, which cost wood, but you know, I have so many dudes on wood I could afford to get farms, which is infinite food. Slower gathering than, you know, huntables and berries, but it is infinite, so I got a safe farm back here. And then this is where kind of where the game ends. I mass up my rams, I'll speed it up. Crank out more units. See that he's going to, you know, sneak around the side of my base. So we have a little skirmish here. Speed it up again. He raids my base. We fight a little bit. This times 8 speed looks crazy. I got my mangonels out because I hit age 3 and he didn't. I got access to these catapults, which absolutely annihilate people. At this point, he's lost so many gold heavy units. I was able to build units that didn't cost gold to get me to the next age, so my age 3 wasn't delayed like his was because his units cost gold, so he couldn't really afford to save up. I get my second catapult out, send my units and my battering rams forward. He attacks the side of my battering rams. Arrows don't do any damage to rams, you need to do melee damage, but unfortunately, you know, in this fight, he chose to fight my rams while my units chose to just fuck his guys up. So, won that trade pretty easily. Then he made another pretty big mistake where, look how well defended this position is, and I have catapults. You know, there's no way he could possibly win this, but he sends them in anyways. My catapults just absolutely decimate his dudes. Got my spears on his horses. And at this point, you know, he just said, this is completely fucking over. He's got siege, I don't. And at this point, I believe, is where he decided to surrender. Yep, and that was GG. So typically, you know, the French player gets his knights onto your resources early and is picking your units off one by one. He's a pretty clear win, but if you get your units over to his side first and you start keeping the fight in his base, and he can't get the fight to your base, pretty goes one way or the other. And that's that.